Hello and welcome to my bonus video from Maya Foundations Workshop Week 1. In this video I'll be focusing on the door modeling workflow. Starting off with a review of the old door modeling workflow, following in to show the new workflow that I've researched and developed to try and speed up and produce higher quality than the previous workflow. And I'll wrap everything up with a conclusion showing the two models side by side and comparing and contrasting the two workflows. In this section of the video, I'm going to do a brief review of the old method of building a door. Here we have a room with the floor, the walls, and a cube, which is going to be where the door will be cut out. First, we duplicate the cube and hide that. Then we take the wall and the cube and we do a Boolean difference to cut out the door frame. Then we show the last hidden to bring the door back. We scale it to fit in the frame and do an isolate select to just view the door. Then we go to the options menu for the insert edge loop tool, and we're going to select multiple edges, use equal multiplier, and just do one edge so that we can stick the edge right in the center of the geometry. And this horizontal edge usually gets moved down a little bit lower for the conventional style of the door. You then select the 8 faces on the front and the back of the door. You turn off keep faces together and you extrude it. You just do a scaling just so you can get the flat plane of the frame of the door. Then you're going to extrude it again and pull it in. Do an extrude again to scale it up, scale it in a bit, and pop it out, and just do a little extrude on top. So this is the door, and then bring back the room, and here is the door that is done with the old method. Now I'll be talking about a new workflow I developed for building the door. It's very similar to the original workflow, but it's more focused on getting curves in these extrusions to make the door both more aesthetic and look more realistic. When doors that are manufactured today, usually with these cuts and panels on the door, are metered so that they have a nice curve to them. So this new workflow starts the same as the old workflow. You're going to draw out a cube to show where you're going to cut the door into the wall. So you name the cube Boolean door, and you're going to duplicate it just like in the original workflow, but this time you're actually going to hide the original cube and use the duplicated cube to cut into the door frame. Now with the door frame cut open, I'm going to bring back the cube I had, and it's the original cube, so you have access to the inputs channel. Now, instead of scaling the cube, you're going to actually adjust one of its original dimensions, the width dimension, to get it to fit in the door frame. But the big bonus here with using this technique is that instead of using the insert edge loop tool and going into the options and then selecting use multiple edges and click on the option and select how many edges you want, you can actually just use these subdivisions, 2 subdivisions on the height, 2 subdivisions on the depth, and you have the panels cut equally into the door. So that cuts down, 4 or 5 steps into about 2 or 3 steps. And also you have the option of selecting more faces to get different styles of doors that you can start a template off with. So let me return back to the 2 and 2, and we'll proceed on along with the original workflow. You're going to grab these faces, but instead of clicking them individually, you're going to just click and drag, because it is a flat piece of geometry. You can just click and drag right down the middle and select all 8 faces. So you move on to the extrusion, just like in the original workflow, and you're going to scale it up so that we now have a flat plane in the front of the door and back of the door, just like before. And we're going to extrude again, and we're going to scale it up and move it back a little bit so that we have this nice recessed in panel. Now here is where the new workflow changes again, is that I don't want to have just this flat plane. Okay, it's not realistic. I'm going to add a bevel, and I'm going to do 3 segments on the bevel. Now this provides enough resolution where it slopes out that edge into just one flat plane. It's now 4 planes that provide a nice curve in. I'm going to select the internal panels again, and I'm going to extrude them in for a flat area, and I'm going to extrude it in again and bring it out. Now that I have it brought out, I again am going to bevel with the 3 segments to give me a sloped in look. Now you can take these 4 faces again, or 8 faces, and extrude again. You can just bring it in a little bit if you'd like, and just bevel that little dip in there, and now you have a much more intricate door than in the previous version. So if I put them next to each other, the door on the left is from the old workflow, and the door on the right is from the new workflow. The new workflow allows for much more curved recesses and more intricate panels than in the other one. The new workflow that I'm proposing on building a door increases both the speed and productivity of the workflow. The speed increase is brought about in the Boolean process when, instead of hiding the duplicate cube and using the original cube to cut out the hole, you use the duplicate cube to cut out the hole, and you save the original cube to make the door. Therefore, you still have access to its input channels, which means it's very easy to just go in and increase its subdivisions, which will automatically divide up the cube in its center, instead of having to go to the Insert Edge Loop tool, go to its options, make sure the Multiple Edge Loops tool is highlighted, the Use Equal Multiplier tool is highlighted, and then change the number of edge loops to 1. The other benefit in this Boolean process is that it's very easy to jump between different divisions, subdivisions, if you wanted 2, 3, or 4, and to go back and forth to see what fits your needs the most. You don't really have that flexibility if you're going to use the Insert Edge Loop tool. Now, the increase in quality of the project comes during the change of the extrusion process, where you also put in bevels in certain parts of the extrusions to get a much more refined, curved look on the door cuts and on the panels, instead of just the straight edged look. Now, if I were to take a rendering of these 2 doors, you can see that the curved door recesses and panels catch the light much better and much more realistic than just the straight edge of just the straight extrusion. So using the extrusion plus the bevel technique adds a lot more realism and makes the door a lot more dynamic than if you were just to use the extrusion. And switching up the bouléing process speeds up this whole process in general.